Okay, so thought I would do a video on how we do the potatoes. We had to cook some of these potatoes yesterday as baked potatoes for a dinner we have quite frequently. It's like an easy dinner for the week where we do just simple baked potatoes in the oven with fish, with the fillets, and fish sticks for the kids, and then you have corn or vegetables. Like yesterday we didn't have enough corn, so I mixed peas with it, which my daughter ended up saying she really likes that where they're mixed together, so that works out. But anyhow, we cooked some extra potatoes. I wanted extra potatoes baked. That way you're using the energy anyway in the oven. So what we did was I had about, I don't know, I want to say 6 to 7 extra potatoes, medium and small size. And what I do is peel and all, because the peel is good for you. Of course, we had washed them yesterday before baking them. We always soak them first and then wash them off, because the peel has a lot of, I'm going to go ahead and stir these. Probably should have put this on a stand, but easier to show you stuff, talk while I'm talking. I turn on the fan when I'm doing this, but what I do is I usually just use just olive oil, or I didn't have enough olive oil today, so I use an organic version from you can pick this up at Aldi's at a good price. They have one of the best prices. At any rate, that is what we use for other things. I even mix some of my creams, like an actual eczema cream with that. But what I mix with this is this. I'm doing some eggs, and look at the beautiful color. We get the eggs that are from chickens that are cage-free. And this is one of the brightest orange. I'm going to show you guys. Kroger had these the last time, but look at this beautiful box too. So free range, and this is going to be great for the little bits to organize in, or if you have a small business like me and you have a lot of small parts and pieces for anything. I just, I cut this off. Sometimes I put it under this if we need this for a divider in a drawer. Otherwise, I just use this portion. I cut this flap off, and you can place this in a drawer. If these are too tall, then you can cut them down. Okay, now for this, I'm going to mix in here just some simple, I try to get organic, but sometimes they're out, so then I get whatever variety of powder I can find. And then I'm probably going to put some of my fresh salsa in. So let me set this down and mix up these eggs. Or, yeah, I might pick it up and see if I can do it one-handed here in just a minute. So I'm going to add in, I don't add in salt. You don't want to add in the salt to your eggs until they're about done cooking, because the salt can make them harder. You also want to cook your eggs on a medium heat. All I put in the middle of the pan is, you can use olive oil, but since I use olive oil in the potatoes, I don't feel bad about just using butter, all natural whole butter. It's not anything with additives in it. But I blend in, I'll show you guys. So I've got some of the powders in there, garlic and onion. You can also put, basil, dried basil, or fresh basil. In the summer, I'll put fresh basil in here. Or I'll add the basil and my parsley that I'm still growing inside. I'll add it towards the end, like I do the cheese. Some people like their cheese cooked right in, but if I'm doing a skillet, I just do the cheese like after it's about cooked. So that's pretty much it. I do add some black pepper. You can even add some of this, like if you want a smoky feel to your skillet, you can add this into the potatoes or the eggs. So that's smoked chili salt. It's a mixture of salts, and you get the fresh grind. And then I actually am going to be using this Himalayan to make a salt soak for people that need healing and help, like I did for some people for Christmas gifts. Okay, so let's take this. Let's go ahead, because I'm going to add some of my salsa, my fresh salsa that I made. I'm going to add the smoked salt, and then some black pepper. And once again, I won't be, oh, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. I just said don't add salt. I was thinking that was more like a pepper. Don't add salt to your eggs when you're doing scrambled eggs and they're cooking, because it can make them harder. I do it after usually. Okay, well, you know what, sometimes you're so good. I'm going to add some butter in the middle of the skillet. And what you want to do if you're doing a scrambled egg is you want to grab your pan and put it at just a medium. You want to start at just a medium heat. Anything higher, since we're not doing a fried egg, it's just going to make those eggs harder. So I'm setting it to about, I do like between 4 and 6 usually, sometimes a 5, sometimes a 6, just depending on how I feel that day. Get yourself, yeah, that's about the right amount of butter. Sometimes more if you're doing, you know, if you're doing more eggs than what I did, you can use a little more. But you just set that in the middle of the pan, you let it melt down. So while that's melting down, you want to stir this. Now, you don't want, we like our potatoes crispy, but you don't want them to get too hard and ridiculous. Every once in a while, you're going to want to scrape. I like the iron skillet. It gives a good, you know, crisp coating to your potatoes. But you just want to scrape your bottom and get those bits and pieces that will come up that are delicious. If you like that, you know, kind of a smoky flavor in them. Okay, so what I do is when I think those are about done, I'm going to use a hot pad. I can touch this with my hand, but I wouldn't advise it. It's very hot, the handle, so use your hot pad. And then just get that up off of the fire. We'll mix in the eggs later. Now, if you have a family where someone may not like the eggs, even though the eggs are good for you, they're protein, or maybe they're you know, vegan or something, just leave the eggs separate from this mixture here. I end up mixing it all together. You can add anything to this. You can add you like your red onion. You can take your, you know, you can saute those and add them in. You can even do it before you do the potatoes and set them aside. Or you can just chop. Sometimes I'll chop my fresh green onion, which I usually have more growing here, but I've used the rest, so I'm going to put a new batch out. But you can chop those fresh into the skillet. It's delicious also for some fresh green. And as I said, I will put cilantro or parsley. I'm green parsley, so I'll be putting parsley. All right, I'm going to get these eggs going and also get out what salsa I have left from a family gathering. This is some salsa that I whipped up to go with, my daughter helped me. We whipped it up to go with some enchiladas we recently made. We couldn't have our family Christmas till later because we had some family members horribly sick. A couple of them, we did a stint with them in the ER for a while, but now thank God they are better. They're at home, they're healing. But anyhow, this salsa basically, I should probably do a video where I make the salsa, but it contains tomato. You can also add fresh tomato. If your fresh tomato, you're not growing them any longer, like we're not growing them any longer right now because it's winter, just get a couple cans that contain hopefully green chili. You can do mild or hot. I actually did mild for my family, but they still thought this salsa was hot. I think what makes it hot is I put fresh garlic, like a couple of cloves. I only put 1 clove if it's 1 can of tomato, but this was a couple cans. So I put a couple cloves of fresh garlic that I chop up and you can put it to a blender, whatever chopper you might have. And then I chop up a half of an onion, and then I put that in with it, mix it in the blender. Then I also put in like another quarter onion, and you can dial back on the onion if you want. It's red, so it's potent, but it's so healthy for you. And I put in the fresh chopped, I chop it, you know, fairly fine, not ultra fine, but it's chunky, you know, put that in. And then we chopped in some fresh parsley that I grow. Cilantro is what I generally prefer, but sometimes you can't even, it's hard to find it in all of the stores right now, the cilantro. And it's great when you grow your own in the summer because then you always have it on hand. And maybe next year I could try to bring some of that in and grow it indoors through the winter like I do the parsley. So, oh, and then of course salt, pepper, you know the drill, to make a good fresh tasting salsa. And a lot of people will use it to mix into, I know my family did when I made it for them, to mix into their eggs, the ones that were sick. They would, when they got back home, they would mix some of that fresh salsa into their egg mixture for scrambled eggs, and that way, you know, you've got some fresh vegetables going in with your eggs, and there's a lot of healing qualities, as you guys know, in the onion. So I think we've got this butter melted down. So I'm going to pour, and then I'll set this down to scrape the bowl. But I'm just going to take and pour. You don't want your butter to get too brown, obviously. And you can still hear a sizzle even though it's on medium heat. And if I think it's sizzling too much, because I don't want them to be hard, I just turn that down a bit and be patient and let them cook. It still doesn't take too long. I mean, it's eggs, right? So let's go ahead and turn this down a little bit. And then all I do is I'll grab whatever spoon or sometimes one of the spatulas and just like, you know, mix it a bit, and then I just let it be because I don't want them hardened. Okay? So while that's going, we will get these seasoned up. You know, season according to taste. I like plenty of seasoning because I like flavor, but always remember, especially with, you know, your dishes that are going to sit another day, the potency increases as they sit. But most of my skillet will be eaten today. We have about 5 people in the house, so that was some onion. And the reason we don't put especially the garlic in while it's on the fire is it can turn bitter, so I do it after. And then we're going to salt these. My salt shaker that I have right there, that little one, it doesn't come out real fast. And I'm not advocating tons of salt, but we use a natural salt, and I do like flavor. This is a Himalayan, no additives. And this one, it just sprinkles out quicker for me. So when I'm cooking, I tend to use this one. And if I'm making something small for my own food, I tend to use this one. And then if I want to hold back on the salt, I'll use the other. So I've done this, and I usually test with a clean spoon and drop it in the sink because I never did this even before everybody had all the scares that they have. But I don't taste the food and put the spoon back in. I don't, you know, I'm not always necessarily afraid of germs, but I don't want to be sick, and I don't like to transfer stuff. So any taste testing is generally done with a spoon at a time, even if we go through a lot of spoons and they go directly into the sink, so that you're not transferring any germs back into what you're cooking. All right, let's get some black pepper. Okay, gave it a few rounds of the grinder of black pepper over this, and in the meantime, I need to re-stir this. Something else that you can do with those eggs, I'm going to put this closer to me so you can hear. Something else you can do with those eggs is you can spray the bottom of your pan with a simple cooking oil that you can get at any store. Aldi's has them too, you know, just like a natural olive oil or even avocado oil, so they don't stick as much. But when I cook them like this, with that butter in the middle, I'll show you the pan, they don't really stick too bad for me. And then as soon as the pan is cold, I usually soak it for whoever is washing the dishes, so it's not so much of a pain. Okay, these are looking pretty good. So I'm going to remove them from the burner so that I can add the salt. You can actually add the cheese a little bit, you know, when they're almost done, or you can add it after. In my case, I'm just adding the cheese to the skillet pretty much, maybe a little with the eggs. So I'm going to salt those eggs with my nifty salt shaker where it comes out a little quicker, so I can make the process faster. And then I'm going to give them some fresh ground pepper right on over the top, and they're completely off the burner still, because I don't want any heat going to them since they're done. You don't want them to be hard at all. I like them done, but not hard. In my family, I've got them liking lots of pepper. Sometimes I'll even add in, and I probably will today, and I'll show it to you, a nice red pepper flakes to give it a little bit of kick, but not too much for those who don't like that hot. To be out probably from cooking the enchiladas and a couple of other things recently, because we do a lot of meals at home. I seem to be out of the you know, shredded cheese. So you can shred your own. I do have a block, but I'm not going to do that. I'm in a hurry. So a tip is if you have cheese slices, even the cracker size, just take some of those out and commence to tearing those right on over those potatoes. And you can put them back over a very low heat to assist that cheese in melting. So needless to say, since I'm out of the shredded, I'm not adding any to the eggs first, but that's okay. The eggs will be the protein blended in with the potatoes, the cheese, and we'll have some fresh salsa and all the spices, so it'll be delicious. And when I'm all done here, I'm going to go grab some of my fresh parsley and chop it into this skillet. And this skillet is great, not just for breakfast, but let's say you guys want to have a brunch, or you want to have, have it for lunch, even for supper. Honestly, we do foods. I don't always delegate that we can't have this item because we had it for supper. I will eat, that's how I eat a lot of my leftovers. I will eat something I've cooked because I like it and it's got protein in it and I'm trying to get enough protein. I'll eat it for breakfast or any meal, really. I'll eat a little bit for a snack if I need a snack, or I'll just grab a handful of nuts and an orange for a snack. That's always really, really good for you. Okay, so I've done a few where I just stand there. My hands are always clean. That's one of my rules when you enter the kitchen and you're going to even get a snack, wash your hands, unless you just come from a place where you just wash them. So I just tear them up like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in the salsa, just like a couple, 2 to 3 teaspoonfuls. I kind of just guesstimate how much I want. So I'm trying to do this one-handed. So just sprinkle it all in. Actually, in this case, that bowl's about empty. We just kind of pour a little bit in without it being too much once again. And because I said that some of my family, not my immediate family, but other family members that I took it to, thought it had too much, had a lot of, they still ate it, plenty of them, but they thought it had a lot of kick. I won't, even though I'm tempted to just add the entire amount. People can always add more individually, which is what I do because I like my food spicy. So what I add in for myself, which I'll probably do for just my own portion, is these, or I have some, I'm going to show this to you, and then we'll add the eggs. I have some of my own peppers, chili peppers, so we're drying these, actually, so that I can tell my cat, probably my black one, who likes to get up here, and she wouldn't have been purposely messing with it, but she probably scooted the big one off onto the ground. But they're drying. I've got some greens still growing, so you can always roast those and put that in too. But right over here is our parsley. We've got more fresh onion growing, but they're kind of spindly, so I need to restart those. All right, here's our parsley. So we're going to take our parsley over, and you can tell this was a lot fuller. I have been using a lot of this. I've been making lots of fresh salsa for us and others. I took some of this parsley down to my family's house where I stayed for the people that got real sick, and eventually we took care of them for a while, but they had to go into the hospital and with pneumonia, but thank God they have survived. So here is your parsley, and you'll just want to, cilantro parsley from the store if you're not growing your own. Just give it a wash, just right into your hand, and then I just run a knife through it is what I do. And usually I dump this and clean up as I go, and that's why I have the discard mug with a handle, so it's easy to dump into my trash, because I don't cook with the trash right beneath me or anything. I have a closed trash like over here, which is kind of nice if we don't have any dogs, but we do have cats, and they're pretty good for us, the cats, because we do have an open recycle. But sometimes you just want to make sure that they don't have any access to that, just to save from not just mess, but accidents to them. Okay, so you'll want to take a good knife, a nice sharp one, and give it a chop. Safety first for any of the people doing it that haven't cut a lot. Keep those fingers obviously curled in or out of the way, however you can. And what I tell some of the kids that I've worked with, some of them would come over and need help, even on a home ec assignment with cooking. I would even let them go ahead and use a steak knife to get used to much get my fingers out of the way and chop it, repile it, keep chopping. Okay, so then you can repile, and it doesn't matter to me if some of them stay larger than others because I like the green in my food. I like some fresh in it, along with, you know, maybe even, like I said, some of that nice fresh onion. So you'll want to just, you know, sprinkle that throughout. Actually, I would normally add that after the eggs, but it's not going to hurt anything. Now I'm going to show you how I cut this onion. I just snip off any brown pieces right over the seam because we have a disposal. And then what I do is I simply take the scissors and I just chop a few pieces off. I usually have, like I said, a lot more onion than this, so I can chop a lot more. So then I'm just going to chop a little bit into here because normally I do this over my fried rices also. Oh, I should turn this fan off so you guys can hear better. Because this is no longer smoking. We're no longer frying this skillet. Okay, so I usually chop more into this, but since we're low right now and I'm not going to take more out of the fridge at this moment, I might chop some more over my individual portion if I want and let others spoon some on if they wish. Okay, so now we just put in the eggs. So those eggs are in there. So now this is where that's why I use these kinds of spoons. If I want to, I can chop them up a little bit smaller so that you have more protein scattered throughout, and just mix it all in. This goes well even if you're doing like a fried rice, you know, which you can do, like I said, any time of the day. If you're at home, you don't know, oh no, I don't have anything I can cook for a meal. Well, you can make a pretty hearty meal even with your fried rice. Just cook up some rice, fry it. It's good to cook it earlier so it has time to sit, that rice, before frying it. But if you can't, then it doesn't sit. You just cook it up, and same idea. Even put some frozen vegetables with that if you want. You know, if you don't have a lot of fresh vegetables on hand. And put in the eggs for your protein. Maybe a little soy sauce or whatever sauce you come up with your seasonings, and you got a meal pretty quick. Okay, thanks guys for watching. Have a good day.